Can you give us a sense of what some of your members are experiencing? Because bushfires first, which was a dreadful hit to Australia's reputation, and now the coronavirus.
Yeah, look, it has been a bit of a perfect storm. You know, you've had the bushfires, which have radically affected the whole country, and I think to a degree trashed our international image. There's going to be a lot of rebuilding work necessary, because it doesn't matter where in the world you were, you saw those images of fire. And so many people think that places like Uluru and far north Queensland have been affected, and of course that's not the case. But add to that now the coronavirus, and I think it's going to take a considerable period for Australia to recover. I think we're looking at least 3 years before the numbers are back up.
So, yeah, the RBA Deputy Governor Guy Debelle was talking about this. He sees tourism exports or exports for education falling 10% in the March quarter. Is that pretty much in line with the numbers you've got?
Look, I think it is, but the other complicating factor for us is beyond the education piece and those students who come from different parts of the world. It's the visiting friends and family component of it. So their relatives and friends usually visit something like 4 and 5 times during the course of a degree course, and that's a really big chunk of the market that we're not going to be seeing as well. So it's a pretty devastating impact across the board.
Yeah, in terms of young people, working travellers 18 to 30 being offered a year's work on a working holiday maker visa, but shortage of workers isn't really the issue here, is it? Is that likely to boost traveller numbers?
Well, look, it may actually encourage more backpackers to come in one sense, but I think what we're actually looking at is a global slowdown travel period. And remember, we did introduce a backpackers tax several years ago, which didn't make us, didn't improve our destination appeal to that particular group. I think the big issue for us now is going to be how much of the domestic market can be shifted in to fill the gap in the medium term. That's going to be the big trick, and probably the Aussie dollar is our friend in that space.
True. And do you see any measures happening domestically that might encourage travel? And we've had a big move down in the oil price today. Is that going to at least perhaps bring the cost of travel down?
Look, it may, but I think it's also going to be several things. It will be confidence factors in terms of people's willingness to spend in this environment. And we know whenever there's this kind of issue, it does make people very cautious. So I think that outbound and inbound is going to suffer. I think, though, that with the kind of effort that's being put into the domestic campaigns by Tourism Australia and others, that I think that domestic market will see a big uptick, combined with, I think, Australians wanting to contribute to those communities that were affected by the bushfires.
How about the fiscal stimulus package that's being talked about from the Treasurer? What sort of measures need to happen in that?
Well, look, there needs to be a long-term commitment. I think that's the most important thing. Treasuries have a certain blindness when it comes to the tourism industry. So really what we need them to do is to commit for 3 years of massively increased promotional funding across the board. And it won't just be the tourism industry that benefits from that. It will be the farming industries, agriculture and the manufacturing sectors, for whom so much of what they use comes in the belly of a passenger jet now in and out of Australia. So it's more than just the tourism industry. We think there's going to need to be a very big aviation capacity assistance program. So there's going to be quite a bit of money have to go into getting those flights back to Australia. And they could do things like halve the passenger movement charge, which is that hidden tax that everybody who leaves the country pays. So there's a range of things that they could do. And of course, tax breaks for people who holiday at home would be very nice too.